Hey everybody. Just a quick little just me talking videos on consoles for now. Hey, we're so close to fucking E3. You guys should have seen that coming. I mean, it's literally just 5 days away now. I First of all, the new Deus Ex game, The Fall. Yeah, it's pretty much what it's going to be because Square Enix decided to go really stupid. Remember that Final Fantasy game that came out with iOS? Well, let's just say for the better rest of the word, and pretty much thanks to a lot of critics screaming out of the top of their lungs, don't buy this app ever. The app was pretty much a flop. And basically, it was bad. Really, really bad. I mean, you could play all past Final Fantasy characters on there, and the only real way was to beat it was just scrub your hands up and down really fast, and when your characters die, in order to respawn them, you had to dump like $5 or $10 down to make them respawn real fast, or waiting like 5 or 6, like an hour or so, or something like that. It was not well received. The gameplay was too simplistic, and it was just bad, really bad. Well, Square Enix decided to repeat that again because, as I said, Deus Ex Machina is going to, or Deus Ex The Fall is going to iOS. And why is this not so good? Well, they're going to make it a first person shooter. No, they failed. They failed. If any of you haven't kept any checks or marks out there, first person shooters have failed miserably over and over and over on iOS. In fact, it is one of the worst failures on iOS and even Android, and yes, even Windows phones. It just doesn't work. They have been trying over and over to get those clusterfucks on there, and they just haven't taken. I played Nova 1 and 2, and I just didn't even care for 3 because, Nova, after the first level, I just dropped the damn thing and just deleted it and stopped giving a rat's ass about it. And then Nova 2, I barely even touched the damn thing, and that's why I didn't even get Nova 3. I mean, what the fuck point? The Duke Nukem for the iOS has the worst controls I've ever seen. Doom's unplayable. Hell, Duke Nukem, the first game, is unplayable under iOS. Not under PC or anything. Just iOS is just unplayable. And I got and then there's the GTA 3 for iOS, which was a massive hit, and I downloaded it and I deleted it as soon as I downloaded it because I couldn't control, play anything, or do anything with the damn thing. It was just outright unplayable for me. And it just confuses me how this thing got high ratings and everybody loved it. And they did that for Nova 1, 2, and 3 as well. And it just compounds me. Seriously. The controls are bad. Really, really bad. And then, Vice City came out. And by the way, we're not going to see San Andreas because Vice City didn't sell so well at all for the iOS or any other platform. And the Max Payne, because basically turning your character around and shooting is just not something to be accomplished. Most gameplays I see on iOS first person or third person shooters, they're just strafing left and right, and barely turning around and all that other stuff, and it just doesn't work. And for some reason, these critics are just giving high ratings to these uh, games that just has a real massive fucking problem. They don't work and the controls are just bad. I mean, I've got the brand new 5th generation iPod Touch because, I'm not going to go out and buy a fucking iPhone and have those fucking bill, because you know the cell phone companies just rape the shit out of you. Plus, I just don't even have the money. I mean, I don't even have a cell phone anymore. I mean, I have one. It's just running out of minutes, and I don't have the money to replenish those minutes. I mean, I barely got any cash right now for even fucking cell phone connections. And of course, Angry Birds is not exactly on the top list anymore. It's now that god awful Minecraft game, which you know in the Minecraft game you have a jump button and you can at least turn around real fast, left and right. And of course, you got the strafe left and right crap on there, but it is just such a pain in the ass. And yeah, I got the Minecraft Pocket for iOS, and it just doesn't control it well at all. It dumbfounds me. People buy these iOS apps, first person, third person shooters, or puzzles or whatever, and they hardly ever work, or they're just the controls are just bad, and everybody just says it's the greatest thing ever because it's the future of gaming. And unfortunately, the future of gaming has shitty controls and no ability to turn around, and lesser buttons, and an inability to make your characters do whatever you need them to do. Yeah, real good future of video games there, huh? Yeah, I'm just gonna play simple puzzles, side scrollers, or just basic platforms because those games at least work. But yeah, first person shooters and third person shooters, unless it's like the Rage app, which is a first person shooter slash rail shooter, which is the only first person shooter game that I seem to actually work on iOS. Yeah, it's a rail shooter though. Fail. Then one of my little predictions came true, which I pretty much figured. If you haven't heard, three games are going to come out for the PS4: Planet Side 2, Warfare, and one other game. Now, I'm not going to talk about Planet Side 2 or Warfare because I really don't care about them, but from what I've seen other people do. But the third game is the most interesting one, and it's DC Online, or you know, DC Universe Online. And the reason why that matters is that it's a PlayStation 3 game. And I said that, you know, and this is also why I'm saying don't buy PS3 games and Xbox 360 games, mainly because the backwards compatibility ain't there. And at least with the Wii U, you will get backwards compatibility, even though y'all want to bitch about it and say stupid shit about it. In the PlayStation 4, I understand why there's no backwards compatibility. The Xbox One's lack of backwards compatibility, it's a completely different story. But, and I figured that Sony was going to be pulling this off, especially mainly with a whole bunch of their new libraries, which I believe is going to happen, is that they're going to dual release most of their games for both PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 almost all the way across the boards because it would be just stupid to just leave. And of course, I wouldn't be surprised if I see EA re-releasing Mass Effect's Legacy editions. All three of their Mass Effect games with BioWare uh, for everybody to play on their PS3 or Xbox Ones. And this just cements that theory, and this having DC Universe Online being ported to the PS4 just cements that more and more. Now, as for the backwards compatibility of Xbox, well, somebody in Skype, I'm not going to mention names, was telling me that not all games on the Xbox 3 from the original Xbox could be ported to the Xbox 360, and they're right. And that's an actual correct assessment. Can't speak. Of course, there's an interesting reason why that can't happen. Mainly due to the fact that most original Xboxes can't play most of the original games on that came out with the original Xbox. It's not a joke. The original Xbox is even incompatible with the original Xbox. And there's a reason why. Because there was some sort of rewrite error, some sort of bizarre software error that was going on that basic programming 101 would have fixed. But Microsoft didn't, fix that little problem when they shipped out all those original Xboxes and started pumping out all these games for the original Xbox, only to find out that when they finally fixed the problem, half or most of those games stopped working for the original Xbox. Some of the games were re released for Xbox. Others, I think, became DLC games. Just download the games, which later became DLC games on the 360. But yeah, a console that's incompatible with itself. And I know what you're gonna say. That it also Super NES did the same thing. Super NES, Nintendo put a chip in their Super NES in there that made their console no longer compatible with a whole bunch of other games that came out with the Super NES. The only problem was that those games that they were trying to that were no longer compatible were all ports that Nintendo didn't authorize for the SNES. And Nintendo wasn't exactly, well, they didn't want those games to keep going out without them getting some sort of money from them. Because Nintendo was kind of the original console that kind of didn't like independent developers, unlike Nintendo today, who, you know, is allowing independent developers to make whatever games they want on the Wii U. Safe to say, though, it failed miserably, and the guys who are making all these, unauthorized ports for Super NES, well, they figured out a way around it and started making more and more. One of them was also the game Genie, which was the main reason why they did what they did. Was so when people plopped in their game Genies, they just on their new NES system, SNES systems, they just stopped working. And of course, so did a bunch of unauthorized games that Nintendo didn't authorize. As far as I'm concerned, we're just going to probably have a more boring weekend now. Sorry to just jump subjects like that, but we're just the next 5 days is just going to be boring until E3 actually starts and we get some actual news and know what the PlayStation 3's or I mean 4 is going to actually look like for once. Because Sony, their originality on names 1, 2, 3, 4. At least Microsoft put some original thoughts when they made the name 360. And I just wish they had put some original thoughts when they thought One, Xbox One. Yeah, you know what? That's right up there with Wii U. Or all those Nintendo haters who have some sort of revenge fantasy going on about Nintendo.